Well, hello, Jake.
How we doing, Mason?
Oh, we're good. Thanks for hopping in to this live here. I don't normally do lives on the channel with guests, so you're like the first one ever. Awesome.
First one. So I think we're still, for those who are coming in, we apologize. We had two different
As you being the first one, I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to, at the very last second, go back and change some things. So sorry for the confusion, but we'll go back and now that we're live, I can go back and get rid of the one that's the bad one, and then we'll be good to go. But we're fine. So Jake, what are we doing here? What are we talking about? What's the vibe?
Sure. Well, yes. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mason's channel. My name's Jake. I can talk a little bit about who I am for those who don't know me. So I've been a collector for about 8, 9 years now, getting back into the hobby after collecting and loving it as a kid. And then around 2020, when prices started going crazy, a lot more people became interested in the hobby. I started on the side, part-time, flipping and reselling cards, buying them on eBay and other places, and then trying to sell those cards for more. And then I would take all of that money and put it back into my collection. And it was how I afforded collecting for years. At the time, I was a social worker. I was a psychotherapist. And then about 3 years ago now, I went full-time into Pokémon because I got pretty burned out on being a therapist towards the end of the pandemic, slightly after the pandemic. And I really enjoyed Pokémon, and Pokémon, as everyone probably knows, is very popular now, and there's lots of opportunities to start businesses, and the idea of doing something in Pokémon just seemed like this opportunity may not last forever, and I should jump on it and pursue it and take a break from being a therapist. So I worked by myself for about a year and a half, and then Mason and I just had this like conversation one day. Randomly, we were just kind of catching up. Mason and I have known each other for 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, you have a I would say a pretty popular channel as well in this type of area. So it's not just like a random dude, but yeah, he had his own YouTube channel that he would do lives and stuff on. So I was definitely on there a couple times, and obviously watched and followed for a very long time. So that's how we got to kind of know each other. We met each other in person several times.
Yeah, I had a YouTube channel, and we used to talk. I mean, we talked on camera.
Still do have a channel, but yeah,
still do have a channel that I've started up again. Yeah, and recently making videos. But yeah, Mason was a person that I talked to a lot offline, and we developed a relationship, particularly during the pandemic. I was talking to Mason, people like Mason and John Radar and others, Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles, who I run a Patreon with, like more than anyone else really outside of my, at the time, girlfriend, now wife. So we got close then, and yeah, we wound up on this conversation, Mason, and it was sort of like Mason was looking potentially for a new partner in the business, and I was looking for a new opportunity, and had always been interested in learning about what it's like to run physical retail stores. My experience as a collector and as a vendor and as someone who does a lot of business online, I think matches really perfectly well with Mason's retail experience. So I think we both thought that it could be a really nice fit.
Yeah. So my former business partner was departing, and I had a decision to either make go solo or use this time to kind of maybe get more different avenues of the business that I couldn't do myself. And Jake just is so well connected and knows so many people, well respected, and obviously super smart about this type of stuff, that it just makes sense to have us join together. So yes, so Jake here is halvesies on the physical stores, and then obviously we have our other business as well, right, Jake? But we joined with other people on.
Yeah, so we have the physical stores, and Mason, although we're partners on those physical stores, like Mason is really the owner operator of those, and with a big team of wonderful people there, operates those in Louisville, and then I with some other folks, Justin, Pokemon Wonder, Brandon, BB, Chef, Poke Chef, Luke. What's Luke's channel? Luke's channel is Legend of Luke. Who has a big YouTube channel. A number of you guys may know him. Also works with us, and yeah, it's been really great. We've started streaming and vending and creating content, and I've been doing it for about a year together. And our new products, our new things we're trying are some of the things we'll talk about tonight, which are these slab packs. Do you have one with you, Mason? I forget if we were going to have one.
I totally forgot to bring any, or they're out the store. So I don't even have any with us. But yeah, we they should be in my shop kiosk down at the bottom. Like there's a little thing across the bottom. But yeah, so they are slab products that we've created. And this is exactly what we were talking about when with Jake joining on and us being able to do so much more and kind of go into different areas that beyond just what the stores could do by themselves. I would never be able to take this type of project on just by myself. I don't have the time or the knowledge or experience, but with the team, we could definitely do things together and kind of do things that just ourselves wouldn't be really capable of. So, and that's one of the great benefits of having so many people that we can work with and in this other business that we have. So the aside from the eBay live streaming, which we do, and that whole aspect that also keeps us very busy. Then we have these kind of the first products that we've actually created together and kind of worked on are these slab packs. And I recently made a video about it on the channel and talked about it, and there was some feedback about things, and it's not from the sense of like people were super negative. I didn't feel so. Heck, I get negative comments all the time on videos, so wasn't anything new to me. But I think as far as like building transparency and trust and all that type of stuff, I think it's important that we hop on here, take questions from you guys. That's why we're doing it live and not just a standard old plain old boring video, and kind of talk through it and talk about like, are these type of things ethical? Like, how do we go about creating these things? What makes ours different from other products that are out there, right? So that's kind of like what we are here to do. So this is something that is for participation as well, not just us, talking. We'd like to have some interactions from the chat and talk to y'all too. So feel free to give us your thoughts and let us know if you have questions or what you want to talk about or about those products specifically. We'd like to answer those questions. So,
absolutely, Jake, we're happy to answer any question about our work together. And this is the first time Mason and I are like appearing together as Cardinal Gaming. But yeah, we definitely will answer in full the question that is in the title of this video. And so we'll either answer it or we can answer people's questions as they come up. But yeah, please ask your questions, and we want to hear, feel free to share your honest opinions, and we'll be, transparent and honest back.
Yes, that's the whole idea. So let's talk about, Jake, like more than me. What are the type of products that are out there, those type of things that exist, I guess, currently? And can you just kind of like give a brief overview of like how ours are different and like what we do differently to kind of just give people like a quick, look kind of idea of what our goal was?
Sure. Yeah, so I think the first thing to say is that we're still iterating and working on our product and working to improve our product, and have a few variations continuing to come out and plans in the future. So, we'll talk more about this in the coming months, with, bringing in features like digital versions, buybacks, which we think are really important. but as far as like just talking about the physical product and the physical world, the idea of making these products is that, so we as a business, we struggle to get enough packs. It's no secret for everyone who wants to open products and wants the thrill, the gamble, the fun of opening something and then not knowing what they're going to get. And being able to source enough packs at a price which we can then resell and make enough money to pay our employees and pay ourselves is a constant ongoing challenge. So as a business, the idea of us creating our own products with secondary product that we buy, that we source, putting it together and creating an opening experience for people where there's a gamble, where there's a fun, but there's also some margin there for us to make profit, is the idea, or why we were interested in this area of the hobby. And so I think that mystery products, as they've been called, or we call it slab products, however you call it, have gotten, for very good reason, a pretty bad reputation in the hobby, because there's been a lot of scams around them where people say there are cards in them that aren't in them, or they say that the cards are worth this amount, but they're really not. They're really worth way less, right? They're these sort of fraudulent, scamming, outwardly fraudulent behaviors. And I think most people can agree that none of that is good. that any sort of fraudulent, where you're saying, hey, this card is in there, or hey, you should expect to get this much out of this product, and you don't, those are all bad things. So the first thing in our product we aim to do is know what's in the product, because we source and hand build the cards within the team. Justin, Pokemon Wonder, who we both trust a huge amount, and is a very ethical person, is together we've come up with the odds, and we've come up with the process of how to build them. Justin right now is packing the boxes himself, and making sure that every box is correct and has the correct expected value and the correct number of cards, types of cards in it. We actually created one box that was wrong at one point, and we actually reached out to the person who opened that box, and we gave them an extra card, basically a hit card, to make it right. Because we're hand packing the boxes, there was one out of, we've sold 1,000, at this point. So we're the type of people that, like, going into this area, we know how important it is to do it completely by the book and to be very ethical and transparent with it, because it's a just like the Pokemon Company. If the Pokemon Company said, hey, there are these hits in the pack, they're god packs, and then there didn't turn out to be, and everyone was outraged. Anytime you're creating sealed product, you if you're telling people that this is what's in it and it's not in it, that's a huge problem. So obviously we're making sure we do that. Second thing that we feel like people have really gone wrong in the past is bad expected value. So I'm not going to name names, but I've seen a variety of packs over the years that
we've looked into them and like seen what's out there already, and are just like, okay, we can do this better.
Yeah, we can do this better and still make some money, and still afford to do it. So, being able to put in 90%, 100% expected value is doable if you're very good at sourcing cards and buying cards and grading cards, like we are as a team, where you can make the profit by sourcing the cards at whatever percentage lower and or grading it yourself, so that you can keep as much of the value in the product as possible. And rather than trying to create a product where we make huge margin on every product, we want to create a product where people get as much as possible, and then we're making a small amount of money on each product, but it's very popular, people really like it, and so it sells a lot of it, and so we're making a small percentage on each product, but it adds up for us because we're able to sell a lot of them.
Right.
You know, the next thing we want to add in to support all of this will be a buyback. And what buybacks do is they say, hey, we stand behind our product. You know, we will buy back. You can keep the cards that you get, but we'll also buy back for cash, you know, any of the cards, you know, that you pull from it, and exactly what percentages we're going to buy back. And, you know, there are companies out there that are doing 80, 85, 90, 95, even 100%. We're still figuring out. But that's another way to really add that transparency, because of course, valuing these items is difficult, and you can see one card and I could value it at 200. The next person could value it at 250, and the next person could value it at 150. Yeah, go ahead, Mace.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, you know, one of my favorite things about what we do is that we make these things in like super small batches, you know, relative to like what's out there on the market. You know, when people make these larger company that go into like big box stores or chain stores, they're making thousands and thousands of these all in the same row. You know, they might throw a couple of the hits in there, sure, I don't doubt that, but the pool of the options that could be out there is so many thousands of these products and boxes, right? We make all of ours. They're what, 82 or 84? I always forget. Is it 82 at a time?
So we have three different types. So yeah, there's 84 in the
84, yeah.
$120 product. Although we're actually can talk about that. We're probably moving to a based on feedback we've gotten, to a little bit of a cheaper option on the lower end.
Yeah.
But and then we have a $200 product. So I guess we should talk a little bit about the product for those who don't know.
Sure.
So we have three different products. We will soon have a $60 product that has 2 slabs in it. We have a $200 product or $199 product that has 5 slabs in it. So 5 slabs for $200, including a rare slab, a hit slab in every box. We think the $200 box has been the most popular so far. It's been a huge hit, and you know, we've gotten very positive feedback on it because there's just like a ton of value in it. There's a ton. You get 5 slabs. There's a ton of fun. You know, it's not just I rip one thing and then it's completely done, and I've either, you know, am happy or sad. You get a lot of items. You get good items. You get items that are high value. You get popular Pokemon. And again, we work really hard to make sure that every box feels as good as we possibly can, with the idea that, of course, some boxes, like we had someone pull a PSA 10 Van Gogh Pikachu out of a box. That person paid $200 for a $3,500 box, right? And in order to have boxes like that, there need to be boxes that are $160, right? Expected value from them, $150, $170. But even in those cases, having popular Pokemon in them, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So and then we have a $500 product, and we'll probably make more products in the future that work similarly. And I'm sure Mason will like post and probably already has a link to them below. So if anyone does want to buy them, and if
down in the description, there are all the links to the current products we have. It's acetrainer.shop, but there is a link down there as well. Jake, just real quick, they're saying when I talk, there's an echo on your end. So could you turn the speakers down just a little bit, or?
Yeah, is that better?
I don't know. Let's see. Yes, should be good now. Okay, hopefully that's better, y'all. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
No. But yeah, do you want to hop into what some questions some folks have? We can. I forgot in StreamYard here. We can actually put up on the screen. So,
absolutely.
First question was over here by Shug Nasty. He's talking about what not.
So I guess just to summarize, Mason, if you don't mind, just to summarize, like our product has better expected value than any physical product I've seen on the market. So you're expected to get more money, you know, back on our product than any product that I've seen. Now, of course, there could be lots of products out there I haven't seen. But I'm not going to name names. Yeah. What, Mason?
Or it's just like, you know, if people like make up their own, right? Obviously, they can kind of build that themselves as accordingly. But yeah, our idea is to make this on a, you know, at least a mass scale that we can have these out on in LGSs around the country, or streamers can use them to rip on stream and stuff as well. For this to be like a commercially available product, not just something that somebody else makes, right? To build this in a way that is the best value return, but also, you know, that other people can be purchase at wholesale and run on a stream, or put it again in LGSs across the country, and still be confident that they have one of the best products out there without making it themselves.
Yes, and then just transparency of odds. We have all the odds on the back. All the cards on the front are in the product.
Yeah, and because we do such small runs, we can control. If you buy an entire, what we call master cases, streamers could go on there, LGSs can go on there. You are guaranteed one of the big hits that is in the run. So if you wanted to run it on a stream or something like that and guarantee that you have the big hit in that run, you're able to do that with our products. And that's very important to us, that we have them in a manageable amount where you can experience the whole spectrum of things and just not buy 100 of them at a time and nobody gets anything, right? Because they're made in such larger batches from these other companies. So we make it in a way that it feels good even at a smaller scale for smaller streamers and smaller stores. That's
and I guess before we jump into the questions, just to answer the question in the title of the video, in case we don't get there, is this bad for consumers? Are slab products bad for consumers? The answer is they absolutely can be. So I was a social worker who worked with gambling addicts for 10 years and other types of addiction. So gambling is something that you need to develop self-control around these or any products. It's the exact same question as Pokemon packs. Are Pokemon packs bad because people rip too much of them and they overspend? Absolutely. That happens in Pokemon products. That happens in anything that has a dopamine hit release. Video games can be addicting, right? So the truthful answer is that it's up to everyone out here to behave and interact with these responsibly, and it's up to us to not be predatory with the product and push people to overspend and push people to gamble when they shouldn't be gambling, right? And so just like there's some responsibilities on us to be appropriate and responsible and honest, and then there's responsibility on the consumers to spend their own money in ways that is good for them. And so that's what I'll say about that. Second thing I'll say is that as far as financially, particularly once we add in the buyback, like these are way better for you financially speaking than opening up packs of Pokemon cards direct from Pokemon or any other, just mathematically, because the expected value on the secondary market of our products will be much higher. And we're going to offer a buyback where Pokemon is not going to buy back your cards. So unlike, with Pokemon, where you then have to go find someone to sell it to, and you're going to sell it to them at 80%, and you probably are going to spend $500 on packs and pull $25 of $100 of cards and then sell it for 70%. With us, you're going to buy a $200 product. On average, you're going to get $195 back, and we're going to be able to buy that back from you at 90-95%. Whatever those percentages end up being. And that's a much better value proposition for those who care about money. Now, if you don't like slabs and you just want raw cards, this product is not for you, which is perfectly fine. As a collector, I have a lot of slabs, but I also have like binders, and I enjoy both. This product is for people who like slabs, who want slabs in their collection, or who like to speculate and gamble a little bit on cardboard, on cards, which is why people like to open packs rather than buying the card themselves. That is the reason that people open packs. So the idea that ripping this product is so that somehow us guys, instead of the Pokemon company or someone else making it, as long as it's made ethically, there is nothing, in my opinion, morally. I mean, it's a pretty crazy take to say that this is somehow morally worse, when all of the numbers would say the opposite. And I think the people who have really lost real significant money in this hobby, because they have gotten addicted to breaking breaks and opening cards, and they pay thousands and thousands of dollars for packs and they get $50 back in cards. So, with our product, it would be much, much harder to lose a lot of money. It's definitely possible if you open a ton of it, over a long period of time, which is why it's important for anyone to have self-control. And then the last thing to say is we want to build something beautiful. We want to build something that has themes to it. Like our packs have themes. Our box is beautiful. The way we package things, the way it's going to look online, like create an experience. And then we do it in a social way with streamers, with people. You can hang out. You can go on eBay Live with Chef and BB, and you can hang out with other people who can root you on to try and pull cool cards, right? And we're working with Sauger, Royalty Gaming on YouTube, and
here on YouTube, he has, I don't know if it's the biggest one, but he's definitely one of the larger pack openers here on YouTube.
So you can go there and buy them, from him and hang out with people. And, I think it's a good experience. If I wasn't making these, once the buyback comes in, I would be a buyer for these. Obviously, I'm not going to buy our own product, but that's a pretty good, because I like to gamble a little bit, as people who know, I do like to go to the casino once in a while. Again, I did addiction work as a social work. I know the dangers of all these things. You have to have really good self-control. I know firsthand. But I think some amount of gambling is fun, and it's a core value proposition of this hobby. This hobby is built on that. That's one aspect that this hobby is built on. It is also built on art and collecting and friendship and all these other things. But people get far too focused on and worried about, about this topic, in my opinion. So that would be my full answer. Anything you want to add on that, Mason, or thoughts on all of that?
Yeah. DJ's Poke Center is actually in the chat, and hopefully he's still here. I was actually on his channel a couple nights ago, and I was talking to him. We were talking about just investing the value, what people feel about where the hobby's at currently, and I think it's super important to keep the line of thought being that sure, the cards are great, the IP's great, all this stuff is hopefully is going to have value now, and hopefully maintain at least value some in the future. But what the appeal to Pokemon is, or what the appeal to this hobby is in general, is the interaction with other people out there, the people that if you have if you have kids, and the amount of people that come to my store, and parents that come in and do this stuff together with their kids, or I talk to them and they talk about going around to big box stores and trying to find product and stuff like that. That's not a great experience, looking at it from afar, or just from an objective view. But they're nostalgic for it because they had a good time doing it, because it was something they could do together, right? It was a fun interaction that they were doing together. When you play the game yourself in person, do you remember every game and thinking wow, that was a great game every time? Take it from me, somebody that loses a ton of times. No, that's not a great experience. But what you remember is the fun that you had with the people sitting across from you, and the camaraderie of it, and all the fun of that. That's what what the true enjoyment and the fun of it is. And this product is just another way to interact with it, right? Same kind of deal.
100%.
Okay, so
and we're looking for local game stores to partner with.
Yeah.
And so if you're a local game store out there, or you're a small seller, vendor, streamer, and you want to reach out to us, please reach out to Mason. We'd be happy to have conversations, because we want to work with lots of people, and we think this is sort of like a win-win product for everyone. So please reach out to us. We can go over details of how that process works.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people reach out already, and which is awesome and great. But yeah, we just want to kind of again get the idea, the message of these out there, kind of take away all the mystique, or I guess people thinking this shady, and kind of tell people, no, these are different. We gotta just explain it and make it people feel more comfortable about it, which I think is what the whole goal is. So so yeah, let's hit some questions here. Again, if you guys have any questions at all, me and Jake are probably about as blunt and straightforward, and just you're not gonna hurt our feelings with what you say. Just feel free to ask us questions that are actually pertinent to this, but also you could be honest with us, and we're gonna answer them. It's not a pick and choosing kind of thing. We just want to make sure we get through it a decent amount of time. So I had this first one from Shug. Hi Shug, how you doing? I know that Whatnot recently announced implemented third-party verification for mystery packs. Do you think we'll see more regulations of this in the future? And just real quick, eBay just pumped out a thing about this, about mystery products and stuff going on not just eBay Live, but also just in general being listed for sale. And that's something that, we're seeing a lot of more platforms and people trying to regulate this in a way that I think is, they don't want to take it away, or else they would just say, you can't do this, right? They want to figure out a way to do this and make sure that it's fair and ethical and try to add transparency and trust to it. What do you think about that, Jake, or what do you feel like they should be doing?
Yeah,
is this the right idea?
I believe it should be regulated. I think that the idea is how do you regulate it in a way that still makes it doable for people like us to make them and do them. So I think having people like us work closely with eBay and Whatnot, getting approved, having some sort of approval process, and then having a way that they can test and make sure and vet that we're doing what we're saying we're doing. Again, it's easy to say vet these things. It's harder to actually do it in reality. But if they wanted to take a tour of our warehouse and we'd walk them through the whole process and put in place, quality controls that we work with them on, that we make sure is legitimate. It's like with all of this stuff, I'm all for all of that, as long as it's done in a way that's isn't going to make the business just not work, financially. I think they're not going into any, too many details, but it's if they're putting fees or charges, there are ways that these businesses could do it that would make everyone stop doing mystery products or slab products because they put too high fees on it. And that would be a signal to us and to other people. They just don't like them. They don't want to deal with them. But again, in my opinion, these are superior products for most people, particularly if you like slabs, than opening up Pokemon packs. So it becomes sort of it feels unnecessarily punitive and unfortunate if they were to just say, hey, we're not going to do any of this stuff at all, and there's no place for it, but we're still going to let people buy into breaks and do all these things. If they want to ban all gambling products, all everything, including packs of cards, I just don't. It's sort of okay, then we're not in the hobby. We're not, So I think the way to do it is to reward the people who are doing it the right way, focus on the people who are doing it the right way, partner, and actually have conversations with us, because we can help them understand what the financials are for building products like this, how you build them well, making sure that before they're putting in policies, they understand the actual business model of it, so.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I want things to be cheap, affordable, vetted, honest, and make sure that there's enough margin for us. There's enough margin for any middleman. There's enough value still left over for the collector, right? It all has to be, the whole ecosystem has to make sense for everyone, or the product doesn't make sense for anyone because it'll fall apart, basically. So any sort of regulation just needs to be done in an expert way.
Yeah, and I know they're talking about currently they want you to physically send items in and have them packed, and eBay's going to do whatever they're going to do with them. I don't know. I think that is a little extreme. I think there's a way to do it without them having to be so hands-on with it. And also that's just very inefficient. The process of shipping those things back and forth, the time that it's going to take, that's all going to have to be taken out of the products, in the value, because that costs money and time as well. So it's an odd move to do right out of the gate. But I guess I we'll see if they can tweak it or do anything like that. Another question here from Shug about the product EV, or how do we guarantee the EV, and how is that kind of built out there, Jake?
Yeah, so I mean, all these things are still being toyed with. Right now, I would say the expected value it's between 100 it's between 90% and 100%. It really depends on how you value a lot of these items, because as they're slabs, there's a pretty wide valuing scale. So what we're doing, we're trying to do it at 100%, but I don't want to say we're doing 100% expected value. I want to be a little safer and say there's at least 90% expected value across what we've done so far. Right. Now, again, we're just getting started. What we're adding in next is going to be an online experience that's going to have dynamic pricing models, that's going to tell you how much we're pricing these items at, that's going to be full transparency. So right now, because we're working on building that out, and we're still testing the products, I don't want to oversell, but our goal is to have that 100% expected value, or as close to that as possible as we possibly can. And when you buy from us, it will tell you, it doesn't right now, it'll tell you what the expected value is. When you're, before you buy it, we will be clear about that in the future, in the next couple of months. Right now, you're just taking my word for it. You're taking the team's word for it that we're working really hard to have 100%, but we feel very confident that we're above the 90% expected value. And again, it's because you have a slab that sells in 3 places, one at $10, one at $25, and one at $30. When we price these, we're not using just card ladder right now, and card ladder doesn't even have pricing, for example, for all of these items. So there's an element of, for full transparency, right, there's an element of our opinions and because we don't have a buyback right now, we may price an item at $20 and you may try to go sell it on the secondary market and only get $15 for it. Or we might price an item at 20 and then you try to sell it on the secondary market and it goes for 30, right? So there might be some of that variety in it right now, but that's an issue in all of these products. And that it's the same issue in any physical product that doesn't have some sort of buyback or online digital kind of card ladder system on the back. Hopefully that makes sense for people. Yeah. I don't know what Kai's expected value is.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I'm not even familiar. I didn't know Kai had.
Yeah, I feel like I just talked to Kai and he didn't have one.
Oh,
or maybe it's a different Kai. There could be multiple Kais.
Oh, true. Sorry, Shug. You don't know which Kai. Speaking of Lord Pokesmoke, hi Lord Pokesmoke, how we doing? Asked about, hey, we're gonna have an app. I guess he's also propositioning us if he wants us to, if he wants to build one for us.
Well, maybe we can have you look and check some of the stuff that we're doing at some point.
Yeah. The current idea is to build something online, right? Jake, and kind of it's currently in the works of us being able to not just do more through that app or online and build an online experience, but also way to validate, do the buybacks, that type of stuff, all in the same kind of infrastructure.
Yeah, and that'll provide the full transparency so that like people don't have to worry and wonder. They can look at it. Right now, again, it's trusting our word. Ultimately, which is
we're pretty good. I'd like to think we're pretty good at pricing stuff, but obviously there's no proof of that. Babel asked this question about how do we come up with a buyback price. We kind of talked about that, touched on that a little bit before. It's not easy, and there's flaws in doing all these things and using APIs and all this type of data. There's flaws in it all. So it's not super easy to come up with these types of prices.
So one thing I will say is that the value that we put your card into the box will be the value that we will buy back. We will buy back off of that value. Right. That will be one value. Although if you buy a box 1 week, for example, once we get the digital stuff up and running and then you sell it back to us in a month, the price could be very different then, and then the buyback would be different. But if you sell it to us the same day, it'll be the same. It'll be based on that same price. So we may say it's okay based on our API and our models that it's $100 card. But when you look online, you're like, oh, it's $120. They're only offering me 90%, let's say, of 100. I'm not going to take that. I'll hold on to it. Or you may find out that we're offering 100, but you're seeing that you think that it's actually worth $80 or $90. Okay, now the buyback's an even better deal. That's going to happen because, again, these items sell in a range. Yeah. We're trying to build a dynamic pricing model and also a model where we can put in inputs and we can actually manually shift some things to be better than anything that exists out there right now. but it's going to be like a thing we're going to work on for like years probably to continue to get better. And the more data we get from more different APIs from different places, the more we then correctly weight that data based on how good we think that data is, and then obviously how we're weighting new data because these cards are very volatile. It's a challenge. So but we're going to work really hard at that, and as hopefully you can see, we're very transparent about like what we're attempting to do and the strengths and sort of weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as somebody that sells, thousands of card singles, and trying to figure out a price that is fair. What's fair in store versus what's fair online, what's fair, at a card show, it's going to be different, across all those types of things. So, and there's going to be a little bit of lag time potentially sometimes. So, yeah, the perfect system, we're going to do our best, but it just may not always be 100% correct. And that's just the nature of doing averages and that type of stuff, Okay. DJ's Poke Centers. Are there stickers in every box? What's the deal with the stickers, Jake?
There are not. So we're still trying some different things and seeing what people enjoy and so there were some runs where in the beginning where we had more stickers or old maid cards or vintage WotC first edition, and there were some runs that had none of those things or less of those things. The value is ultimately still there. Some of these stickers, obviously, if they haven't sold or they haven't sold enough, there are no, let me put it this way, there are no hit stickers. So the stickers are always in our boxes. There are common slots, there's an uncommon slot, and there's a rare slot. And stickers were always in one of the common slots. And so you're looking at the stickers in a slot that's worth $10, $15, $20. And we actually found that a lot of the stickers, like, people really liked, and again, you guys hear stickers, you may not even know what we're talking about. I probably wouldn't have, but they're going to be like a cool, shiny Gengar, Japanese sticker out of Japan that is put in a CGC slab or something like that. And, and again, it's one of 5 cards you're getting. Some people love it. Some people don't really like it. Once we add the buyback, it'll completely solve the problem, because now you don't like it, just sell it back to us. You like it, don't. For now, we really try and make the hits be most of the hits are going to be PSA, like most of the rares, and it's going to be mostly cards and Pokemon that we think are really desirable. That's true across the product, not the PSA part, but we're trying to have popular Pokemon and be cards that we think everyone will like. But obviously, as you get into the common slots, it's okay to miss one of those a little bit for our customers, because there's less of a financial value in those. Whereas you don't want your $100 card not being really cool, a $150 card not being really cool. So that's our thought process behind it.
Yeah. I talked to DJ on DJ's channel about this a little bit. When I first saw the stickers, when we were sitting there, when we did the first couple runs of this, Jake, and I was like, oh no, we're putting stickers in this thing. But then I thought, we looked at it. I was like, okay, some of these are pretty cool. There's pretty neat stickers there. They all had good Pokemon on them. They weren't like, weird Pokemon or something silly. They were good stickers that I thought were really neat. And like you said, it's important to point out, in a 5 slab product, this is potentially replacing a slab that is, like you said, $10, $15, at the common slot. I think 20 is the cap, right? For some of them, depending on what it is. But it's just like, okay, do you want something really cool and unique and something different in your collection? Or do you want some like generic, like base EX that's, a 9 or something like that? It's a silly, whatever. Like, I'd much rather have the sticker, because it's something that I know that I don't have in my collection currently, right? And that at least is cool and something different and neat. As somebody that enjoys the hobby and like all the cool stuff that's out there for Pokemon, having a sticker in the box, I was, again, initially against it, but I think it's fun. I think it adds a lot to the experience. I think having something different in there changes it up a little bit to give you, again, if you only have slabs or only collect cards, something like that, it's something that's going to be added to your collection. that more than likely you don't have already. I mean, it's going to be very odd or very unusual unless you buy a bunch of the boxes to have a sticker that's something like that in your collection already. So I think they're fun. I think they add to the experience. I am, whereas again, I was initially against them. I'm glad they're in like a 5 slab product. If they're in like a 3 slab product, it would be different. But I think in the 5, it just makes it more enjoyable and adds a lot of more fun to the experience to me. Husky Cards TCG is I'm pretty sure he's a business as well. Do I have to buy 2K worth of Dragon Shield sleeves with them to get them at the wholesale price? Jake, if you don't know, like some distros,
I know what he's getting at.
They'll do these bundles that you have to buy a couple $1,000s worth of just like whatever else they have to get like a couple $100s worth of Pokemon products. No, Husky Cards, you don't have to do that. We do have.
We will not be packaging product that doesn't sell with product that does.
Right. I guess we can talk about a little bit about if people did want to wholesale them, just again for like the sake of being open and honest, and just so people know. So our wholesale price is pretty high, but it's just because again there's so much value packed in these products that we try to return that out to people. So, you know, we want to work with other stores. We want to work with streamers. We want to get the stuff out there and have people build an audience for the stuff. And I think that's very important and part of the process of not just building our brand, but building your brand with ours and like having that built in and then the trust back and forth there and having our name on a product that adds strength and is a strong offering to people that people want to, you know, and hopefully will eventually recognize and want to pick up and say, oh yeah, I love Ace Trainer boxes. I'm going to open these. Absolutely. You know, so if we do change them up and say, hey, we want to do an all PSA box, or we want to, you know, change a price tier, or maybe have them themed around like maybe just like a Charizard box, something like that, that people, no matter what type of product it is, they'll see our branding and be like, yes, I like this brand. I know that they're good. You know, that's a strong company that does it right. And that's important to us. So, and then I think something that's not.
And we have the website attached to this video.
Yep, it's in the description. Yep.
Okay, so what I would say is like the website, Mason and I are not, well, let me speak about myself. I am not good at naturally giving all the details of everything. The website, Luke has done a very good job on the website. The website will give the rarity details. Will give what are the chases, what are the you know expected value, all of the data or the specifics. If you're interested in this, your first thing that you should do is go to that website, read about them, and then reach out to us and we can have a more full conversation. Because Mason and I are not gonna, you know, we're not gonna be able to. We're not the best at packaging. You know, we're not here to just give like a specific sales pitch. That has more
Sure.
of like, you know. So please go there.
For sure. Yeah. Let's do this one from Northern Spartan here. Will this be a good idea for a new vendor to get a slab collection started for resale?
I would say no. So I wouldn't buy this product to open and then resell the cards in the product. I think you going out and sourcing cards, grading your own cards or sourcing cards at some percentage of the market will be better. What I would say is you should sell the product as a sealed product. That would be how I would sell it.
Absolutely.
Because the point of the product is it's the fun of the chase, of the chance, right? Of the variety and of the gamble, and you're still getting really good expected value. And really, now could you open this product and then sell it on your table and make money? You know, obviously, if you get lucky, you could make a lot of money. But if you don't get lucky and your odds are just even, right? You'd have to mark the cards up above market in order to make money, because theoretically you should be getting about 100% expected value or 90 to 100% expected value, which isn't going to be enough for you to make money, you know, selling the slabs inside the boxes. So hopefully that makes sense. Right. So I would not recommend you buying a bunch of these, opening them up, and then having a vending table of all these slabs. I think that would not be the way I would go about your business.
But again, if you wanted to be a wholesale partner with us, we could do wholesale, and then that would be a good way to have these out and put them out available for sale and make, you know, a good profit off of that type of stuff.
I suppose theoretically, if you buy them wholesale from us and then you open them up and you could, and you really were able to sell them all at 100% market, you could probably make 10%, 15%.
Sure.
But the effort in that to sell all of these items, I think they're easier to sell packaged in a box. I wouldn't recommend opening them up and selling them as a business, even in that situation.
Right. Yes. Shug is asking, just are mystery packs good for the hobby? I think we've probably already touched on that pretty well enough, unless you want to add anything else to that, Jake.
So I would say that they are, if they're done well, because they give adults and kids and families an option to gamble on something that has higher expected value, buyback, is from safe people. I can't even open Pokemon cards anymore. I don't even enjoy it because the value is so low that it's sort of like I'm not going to get the card I want. I mean, again, when I first came into this hobby, I opened so much product. It was so fun and I loved it. And then as time went on, it was sort of like, I'm just gonna, like, the financial cost of opening product versus just buying the card I like is so significant that it just doesn't make sense for me anymore. And so if I could buy the cards that I like, if I could have some gamble around it, have a buyback, and still have, good expected value, I think it's a pretty good value proposition for a lot of people here. Because I think that it's enjoyable to do that. Again, occasionally with friends for fun. I do not think you should be, and again, this is what I said in the beginning. Like, if you get addicted to these products or any product like this, or opening Pokemon cards, it can be very bad for you. So, but the hobby, I mean, these, like, and sports card hobby, like all of the, any hobby that has, manufactured rarity and chase to it and secondary market value is going to necessarily have a gambling element to it. And so if you don't like it, just don't do it at all, right? Just buy the exact card you want. If you like that and like some of that, then do some of that, I think it's sort of as simple as that for me. But I think this provides another option, basically. The danger, of course, is it's unregulated and people are fraudulent and the value's not in them, and all these types of things. And I'm sure that exists, like, in everything. So
yeah, I guess I wonder, like, we try to do the best we can to describe and say what we're doing. Let me pose to you all out there, what can we do to make you feel more confident in the product, or feel better about it being true to the odds on there, or how can we be more transparent, I guess? That's an interesting thing to pitch to you all. And when we get down to the chat, we'll we'll see your guys' responses, and then we'll kind of go off that. That'd be interesting to see. This is an interesting question from Shug. Has the mystery pack craze attributed to PSA and other grading companies' backlog? What do you think about that, Jake?
I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know how to quantify it. I think it's way bigger business than it was. How big of a business is it relative to other things in the hobby? I still think it's pretty small. I think there's a lot more people doing all the other avenues than this yet. I think, first of all, it's really hard to build these. It takes a team of, like, really dedicated, frankly, professionals, Pokemon professionals, but professionals nonetheless, to put this stuff, to do this stuff. It's not easy. And so I think there aren't a lot of teams out there. There aren't a lot of groups of people who have the knowledge, who have the experience, who have the discipline to actually build these things, implement them, scale them.
Yeah.
And because of that, I don't think they're that. I think that most of the graded cards that are being resold are just being resold on Whatnot streams where people are just selling in auction one after another. So I think, like, the amount that are being sold that way versus the amount that are being sold through these types of products these are so much less right now. Now, will they catch up over time. You know, obviously Fanatics, Rips, you know, there's a lot of the big companies are starting their own versions of these. I expect that gap to close, and but yeah.
Yeah. Going back on like how, I guess, the process to kind of create these. It'd be super easy to just go out and say, hey, let's go spend 20 grand on some slabs, throw them on a table, and then just package them up and throw them in boxes, right? That's so much easy. You know, that's a very like easy way to make a bunch of boxes real quick and just get them out the door, right? You know, we price all these slabs. Like we value them out. We may put them into stacks according to the rarity, you know, the rarities that we want in the boxes. So it's all priced accordingly. You know, if one number is a little on the lower side, we might juice the next one or the next tier up, you know, to kind of balance it out and kind of give a better value proposition to that. That's the extra effort that goes into the stuff that we do that other people probably aren't doing. Do we try to make you know, these balanced experience, make sure that there's, you know, not just a floor, but a fair floor that is pretty, you know, relatively high, I would say, because there's not as much variance in it, because it's, again, smaller batches, and we're actually looking at and looking at the composition of each box and going, okay, yes, this is a fair box based on whatever the value of whatever the one we're making is. I think that's something we do. And then, yeah, obviously, to answer Shug's question, like, we are sending cards to get graded, right? We are, for these types of products, but I would say that probably far and away, most cards that are getting graded are probably just collectors wanting to get some cards graded, I would imagine, right? I mean, I have no idea what the percentage would be, but is it adding to it? Probably, but I don't know. Like you said, I would have no idea how to really quantify that.
I also think like when you know, places like Courtyard or the GameStop, I forget what they're called, Power Packs, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I can't remember what that's what the in-person ones. I'm not sure if it's the same name as the online. A lot of those are actually not. They're selling the same graded cards over and over again, and then because they're being sold back to them and then put back in it. So how many new graded cards are necessarily coming into the system, right? Like probably a decent amount, but probably 70% of it is the same cards being sold and then bought back. Right. And then, you know, 30% new cards having to come in when people are actually pulling the cards from the vault. So I think, but yeah, I mean, I think this stuff is like, those businesses are very big businesses. I just think relative to all of the traffic in this hobby, all of the sales in this hobby, it is still a small portion, you know, of the hobby. I mean, most people in this hobby never even touch slabs, right, at all. You know, of course, that doesn't have to do with this question. This question's about slabs specifically, but
right.
Anyway.
Here's just a fun one from Peak. Just not really about what we're talking about. We can do this one anyways, just for the fun of it. What was the last card you got excited about seeing?
I get excited about cards all the time. So we just bought like a really large diamond and pearl, like platinum collection, and there was like 1,000 cards in that were super exciting to see, because I don't get to see them. So like, I don't know what pops out into my head. It had I think it's Legends Awakened. Is that the set? I believe that's the set. The Dragonites from that set, both the reverse and the regular holo, that I like never get to see, and they were in like really good condition. Dragonite's my favorite Pokemon. It had all the primes, like seeing really clean like Gengar primes, Umbreon primes. It had all the Legends cards, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So seeing like both halves of like the legend cards together in good condition is unusual. It had gold stars. Seeing raw gold stars is really fun and exciting. So many of them are graded that seeing a lot of the stuff raw is more exciting to me than seeing it graded often.
Yeah.
Just because it's rarer to see it raw now.
Right.
Yeah, there are so many things. I mean, part of what's probably the most fun part about doing Pokemon as a business is you get to see so many Pokemon cards, and when you like the cards and you're excited about the arts, it's like, it's pretty it makes the grindy part, the pricing, tens of thousands of cards, the negotiating, the deals, the packing, the shipping, all the grindy stuff, like a lot more tolerable. How about for you, Mason?
Yeah, well, we just had pre-releases for Chaos Rising this past weekend, last weekend now, and they were, ripping packs. I love pre-releases. I think they're the funnest things that game stores get to do because it's the newest set. The cards, when they're not out and available to most people, people come in and they get to enjoy it into the store, and I get excited with them when they pull something huge. So there was, I think we pulled 4 of the Greninja SIR, which is a big number for that guy. But every time, they're excited, I'm excited for them. It's awesome. And pre-releases are kind of like price controlled events, to where I obviously they're from distro, so I can just sell them at the margins that I'm comfortable with. And so they're getting open like a bunch of packs for like normal price these days, or even actually cheaper than normal price these days, because that's just how pre-release kits are built. But getting to open a bunch of packs and see new cards and get excited with people, and that Greninja SIR is awesome. All the artwares, the Froakie and the Frogadier, that kind of like they all interconnect, and I love when they do that. So that's always a great one to get to see. But I love seeing the new stuff in person. Okay, easy question into a little bit more difficult of a question from Lord Pokesmoke here. What would you say to the argument that morally, ethically, mystery packs are worse than ripping card packs, even if the mystery packs are higher EV with buybacks? Because when you make a derivative of the original card pack product, you're removing most of the non-gambling aspects that exist in the original card pack. Things like the playability of the card game, furthering the broadening the IP, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I would say that like us selling these products, if they're popular, furthers the IP. It isn't going to be like with new sets. Like I think it's important that people open and enjoy new sets and new cards for the IP to continue, but we're still like helping Pokemon grow and more people be interested in it by talking about it, by selling it, by offering these items, right? The playability of a card game, that's just slabs in general, right? I mean, slabs have nothing to do with playability of the card game. You could have we could make these products with raw cards theoretically.
Sure.
And you could do you could literally make them with playable.
I could make
expensive playable
packs. We could make 20 card decks, and we could just make decks and just say, all right, here's a mystery product with decks. We could.
But like you could go to regionals and sell, player, type deck, right? So like theoretically, right, like the mystery product, the repack part of it isn't necessarily why it would negatively affect that, but certainly with slabs. And then original card pack products, you're removing most of the non-gambling aspects of the original card pack. So I would say, like,
I guess the utility aspect of it, I guess, is what Lord Pokemon is getting at, which is.
So I think it's bad for Pokemon because they're not making the money. So instead of Pokemon making the money or who's making the cards, it's a secondary market product where we're making the money, and or vendors are making the money, or our LGSs or partners are making the money. Right. So, I think that, but I think for the end consumer, it's better. Honestly, if you like slabs. Now, if you don't like slabs, then I would want a product built like this, but for the stuff that I like. If my favorite thing was Japanese full arts from the middle era, I would love a product that was built around this stuff with Japanese full. Now, the problem with raw stuff is it's harder to regulate, condition, like, once they're slabbed, there's protection, there's theoretically, at least there's an objective third party saying it's in this condition. That's my concern about going down that route. But theoretically, like, I'd love to go down that route with these products or some products around that. But I think I honestly, I don't see a lot of downside other than I mean, I do think gambling can be super dangerous, but again, the gambling exists anyway. This is sort of like being like, hey, we all want to gamble. How do we make gambling more fun? How do we get the stuff that we want while we're gambling? How do we lose less money when we're gambling? Right? It's sort of like, we still want to gamble. How do we make gambling better?
Yeah, I don't get the how this is an argument for the morality or the ethicalness of doing these. Like a booster pack is more ethical than this type of product. I guess I get a little lost in the sauce on that, just because they're graded versus not graded. Maybe I'm not really sure if I agree with that being morally like better. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think, like, to be honest, like I think when I have thought about this like deeply, where my mind goes is, and I'll just be totally transparent with the audience, like where my mind goes is like, is any sort of secondary market activity fair to Pokemon? Because Pokemon is the one who's paying the artists and designing all of this. But and does Pokemon deserve a cut of these boxes? Like, I would love to work with the Pokemon company and give them a cut of this and be, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not, so it's like, maybe one day a lot of these things can be like, those conversations can happen and those things, because I think that Pokemon is obviously, they're not defining the secondary market value. Like, the reason why Pokemon products have a 20% expected value is just because the secondary market has decided that. The secondary market has decided that the boxes are selling for 600, and the biggest hit, which is one in whatever boxes, is 400, and most of the other cards are worthless. And so your expected value, if you open that booster box, is 20%, right? Pokemon isn't saying that's what it should be. They just do try to create stuff that people like, beautiful art, right? They pay the artists, they try and create beautiful sets. And then obviously from the playability side, they try and create cool mechanics and fun playable mechanics. And then they let the secondary market be the secondary market, right? Which is a big part of why people are buying and ripping this stuff. And that's where these products come in. This is a secondary market, gambling money side, collecting side product, not a playing side, which again is a huge part of this hobby. And people who pretend that that's not a part, they want to.
You can argue that collecting is bigger than the playability part of it. Yes.
Yeah. And why can't you? And the people out there who don't like that, why can't you just play and let other adults and kids? I was at my cousin's house today, and the first thing that they did was bring all their cards to me and say, how much are all these cards worth? Not because I said, hey kids, money, money, money. It wasn't, are these beautiful? Are it's a big part of this. It's a big part of the excitement and the enjoyment. And it doesn't mean it's the only thing going on. But it's something that we all should be aware of. And frankly, with my kids, with your kids out there, like, you should be careful with, right? It can be a good opportunity to teach responsible financial lessons, and collecting can be really fun, and the store of value and all these things. But it can also be like, it can be bad if the kids are too focused on money, or adults are too focused on money, and they're not playing with people or having friends or stealing and scambling, these are all important ethical issues, and it requires good parenting. And, our job as a business is to be transparent and create things that we think are fun, but hit sort of that sweet spot of fun and enjoyable, but are not overly predatory, or not overly leaning too hard into gambling and flashing lights and, getting you to spend more and more and more with us, right? There's a balance.
Yeah. Wanted to do a shout out to PokePastor for the super chat, saying, love this conversation, making you a real one. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Yeah. I'm always, I talk about a lot of things on this channel. The morality side of business is not something I normally tackle, but I think it's important, especially with these types of products that we're creating, and give people a chance to give feedback. I think it's awesome. Pikachu says, hey, we need serialized Mason autos. Have we ever thought about, have we ever messed with, like, hey, should we, like, put inserts or, like, something like that in there? Have we ever, not even just like something silly like this, but, something like, an insert for like another type of product, or maybe like a sealed product in these type of things.
So here's what I would say about gambling on gambling on gambling, which is what this stuff can become, right? Is that as long as it's not costing people more money or making the product more addicting and then causing people to misbehave, I'm not against it. Because to me, the idea of having 5 cards instead of 1, the idea that it takes some time to open the cards, the idea that we talk about the cards, we hang out, and we're not just like pushing people to buy the next, all that stuff is important because it creates time so that the person doesn't just buy another one and buy another one and buy another one and buy another one, right?
Yeah.
And when you start adding in bigger inserts and bigger things and god packs, you just have to be careful that you're adding in more fun and not just more and more sustainable fun, not just more dopamine hit, which then gets them to just spend more money. Because I can tell you, a lot of people who spend a lot of money are miserable after they've spent all the money. They're not feeling good. So our goal is if you spend $400 with us, $1,000 with us, you didn't feel like, oh, I was addicted to that and I couldn't stop. 1, ideally, we build a product that doesn't do that to most people. And then 2, we build a product that you're like, wow, that was fun. I got a lot of value from that. I got what I wanted. It came through, right? So if 90% or 95% of our customer base is having that experience, there's always going to be with gambling probably some amount of people who they shouldn't ever touch any of this stuff at all. And that's sort of for them to figure it out and for them to work on. And I was an addiction therapist, so I would work on with those people, and no shame, if that's you at all. But for most people, I think as long as you build them in a reasonably healthy way, they can be fun and not. And again, in the long run, you can still have the same experiences in the hobby, but actually lose less money or even make money. So.
Yeah. Just Lord Poke Smoke responding to, thanks for asking my convoluted question. And as long as I will play against him at Collecticon, he'll buy the playable decks. Sweet. See, again, it's not about the value; it's about the experience that you get with the product. See, that's the fun thing.
Yeah, and my hope is to come on here and for people to really push us, because we also want to feel like we're standing on good moral grounding as we're building this new stuff, and that we're not compromising our values. So being pushed by the audience will help us maintain that. And we've all had Justin and I have had lots of ethical long discussions on how do we feel about these. Do we feel like they're ethical? Do we feel like they benefit anybody? How do we justify, even if it makes us money and it's a really good business, how do we justify it? These types of things. So it's stuff that we think about. We're not just money bag, let's go grab the money bag,
Yeah, and again, in a world where other sealed products and products from Pokemon don't exist, right? You kind of have to get creative with other ways of doing things and kind of distributing and figure things out. So, how do you expand a business when the things that you deal in don't exist? You can't get them to sell if you want it to. It doesn't matter how big you get or how popular you are or how big of an audience you have. It doesn't matter because the product just isn't there. That's really all the questions that I see for the products specifically. There are other questions in here that are just for funds. And we can also just start winding it down as well if we want to. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions or anything like that, feel free. We'll pop it in the bottom and we'll address those. But you want to just do some fun little questions, Jay?
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm happy to hang out and talk. And if people have Pokemon market questions or really any questions, about anything Pokemon related, we're happy to hang out and take some.
We know a little bit about that type of stuff too, I would think. Here's from Dangles. When will the Pokemon market slow down? Any thing that right off the top of your head there, Jake?
It's a mystery to all of us, unfortunately, Dangles. We don't know. And it's something that everyone can have their theories, and mine has always been, well, what happened in the 80s and 90s with comics and sports cards, and expecting something like that to eventually happen again, for there to be that period. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be some sort of larger economic downturn, and more have specifically to do with the hobby itself.
Yeah. People's interest, stuff like
is
that.
more likely. But listen, the bigger the hobby gets and the more money and the more people are actually doing this, the more a broad economic downturn could actually affect it. Because if 5% or 10% of the population, there's no way that it could be that high, but I don't think. But if 5% of the population was speculating, investing, collecting Pokemon cards, whatever word you want to use, and then a bunch of people lost their jobs, you'd think that it would have some effect on some amount of those people would sell their collection, and there would be some impact. But as we've seen the last 6, 7, 8 years, I think it has more to do with social media and influencer, like the high prices and the excitement is more to do with like social online communities like this one, and then obviously like super large ones like Logan Paul and Deep Pocket Monster and existing now, and I think sales like Logan Paul selling the Illustrator and Golden and not being in news articles everywhere, like I think that's the stuff that really fuels a lot of the growth for better and for worse, honestly, for both, I would say. So what does it look like downturn? Well, people stop talking about it. Those types of things stop happening. The high prices get so high that it turns people off, and people leave. People do other things. People have sold. They can't afford things anymore, so they leave and they do something else, right? Like I think all of that stuff can be have some sort of negative, accumulating negative impact over time.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, when you see a modern booster box for $600, and you're just sitting there just like, well, people are just going to stop buying it, right? Right? And then it just still goes up and up and up. Yeah, it's going to take those types of actions for people to look at a price and go, you know what, I'm good. I don't need. I guess I'm not gonna participate in that part of the hobby anymore. And then obviously that'll affect all the other things. And so waning interest, or Pokemon is printing a ton of it. It's the only two real answers there. Pikachu's got another question here. Mason, any desire to expand any brick and mortar locations in the future? So we have the two, and Jake and I have talked about potentially opening stores other places and with other people and doing stuff like that. Nothing like super solid or anything, but I think it's safe to say that we'd like to kind of expand the physical presence and maybe further out from what we are currently, moving from doing something else somewhere else other than Louisville, and kind of moving to maybe where Jake's at, or something, or working with some other people, or there's lots of options out there. Me and Jake are very fortunate to know a lot of people, and there's lots of opportunities for all types of business things to happen, and being physical is just one of the many things that we're trying to work on.
Yeah, I would say opening more stores is probably above 50% in the next 5 years. But I'm about to have my first kid. We're working on some of these other big projects that are taking up a ton of time. So we don't want. I don't want to. We would love. It's part of our plans, but it's hard to plan too far out in kind of a startup-y business, which a lot of what we're doing is super startup-y. So.
Yeah. Yeah, another super chat. Thanks, Bronze God here. He says, ultimately, any product should be judged on its individual merit. The fact that you guys are even having a discussion like this should, and hope, would ease any rightful skepticism on mystery products. Thank you, Bronze God. Thank you. That's why we're here, right? That's why we're doing and having this chat. And just, I think it is something to talk about, just as a broader sense, just in general, what type of role these types of things play. I guess, I mean, these types of things have existed in other collectibles as well, right? Jake, sports has had kind of like repacks and stuff for a long time. I know. So it's not like it's a unique thing just to Pokemon or TCGs. It's kind of always been a thing. Kind of like a repacking or kind of like a rebox kind of type of product. Yeah. I think it's just it's a sign of, I guess, maturing, or the market, or even the supplier base really maturing. Yeah, you have anything else to add on it?
Yeah, I think that we're in the early stages and we're learning about it, and like we're thinking about these things, and obviously when people have comments here, like I will take them seriously, and if people, certainly if I'm convinced, or if anyone can convince me or give me help in how to make these more fun, less addicting, finding that balance, that would be great, But again, why do people speculate on Pokemon cards? Because they're gambling that the prices are going to go up in the future. Why are they buying lots of sealed product and putting it back? Why are they buying slabs and hoping the price goes up, or buying raw cards and putting them in binders and hoping the price goes up, right? Like, it's fun. It doesn't need to just all be like, it's all bad. It's all bad. It's just clearly bad sometimes. Like, there's probably 10 to 15% of it where all of us could be like, yes, bad. Like, too much. Like, you spent $50,000 on that instead of like putting that into college. Like, most of us probably feel like, no, bad, like too much, and listen, I wish that stuff never happened, but yeah.
I mean,
it's sort
there's
of
definitely things that are out there happening that we all look at and be like, ugh, this is not what I want this to become. People auctioning wheel spins with like 1,000 slots on it and being like, all right, one good thing and all these other things. It's kind of like, I don't want to see that type of stuff. Because again, it's gambling on top of gambling, right? Where you're kind of gamifying. You're gamifying the action of gambling as opposed to like the end product being, you're getting something at the end instead of just like, you're gonna get the slabs regardless. They're not gonna be the chase ones. They can't be, right? Or else they wouldn't be a product. But you get something at the end. But yeah, there's lots of things out there where, people will roll a wheel spin and you get shipped an energy card, which is just a silly, like, what are we doing type of thing, Brett says, hi, Brett. When or where can we buy these? If you go down in the description, there is a link to acetrainer.shop. You can buy those directly from us there. And hopefully in the very, very soon future, they'll be on LGSs, or, that want to participate, streams out there. We stream on eBay Live. They're on there as well. They're in my store, in my own, on my own website. That also, you can buy those off of there. So as we grow and get things going, hopefully there'll be just more and more places that you can go and buy these. But for now, that's the best way.
Saga Royalty Gaming is sort of like our first big partner on YouTube.
Yep.
So you can always check out his channel.
Yep. So lots and lots of places currently, and then again, hopefully as we kind of build out and grow, you'll be seeing it more and more. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Here's Poke Corner just asking a question about other languages. Big Spanish collector. I've seen a lot more. Spanish has always been like a huge collector, and especially as somebody that's from California. Like, I mean, I had tons of Spanish speakers that love Pokemon and like grow Pokemon. So it's definitely a huge market for sure, and I think Pokemon knows that, because I think Latin America, outside of like Oceania, I think Latin America is like bigger than even like Europe for them. I think it's just really super popular. So yeah, big Spanish collecting. I remember I've had a lot of Spanish cards come through, and German cards. All different kinds of foreign languages like WotC era stuff. So it's definitely, as we grow, we get Japanese, and Japanese gets more popular, and then we got more people getting into Chinese and Korean and all this other stuff. Yeah, Spanish too. There's demand and growing demand for all these types of languages. I think that's cool to see. I'm glad that Pokemon caters. It's not just in Japanese and English, and I think it's important that it, for a global IP, you got to have it in all the languages. What else we got?
Yeah, it's not something I know too much about. So are you looking at other languages in store, like carrying more? I'm not sure. Are they asking like for us to carry more or to build them into the boxes, or for the boxes or any of those products? Like we have not. Right now, we only have English, Japanese, and a little bit of like Chinese and Korean, particularly if they're like exclusive. They tend to just be like exclusive arts in the products.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, if these became popular and there were people interested in areas that spoke certain languages, I mean, it would always be something that,
yeah, I think it'd be cool.
We'd love to do.
But yeah, I mean, in store, especially, like, yeah, I did not carry Japanese cards up until a couple years ago. So getting those in, and now we have a good resource on TCGPlayer. TCGPlayer also has support for that now, so we have those, an outlet for that. We buy Chinese cards, especially the hits from the Gem series boxes and stuff like that. So we always have those in store. So yeah, I'm seeing it and people being more receptive to other languages stuff, and obviously because of that we're carrying more in stores. So yes, it continues to grow. Ancient Muse says, any California locations in the works? I'm from California, so it wouldn't be the last place I would put a store. How about that?
I think the hardest thing about us spreading out is finding owner operators, is finding people, to work with and to build it out. So I mean, listen, we're always open to conversations with people. If you're out there and you have experience and ever want to talk to us about opening a store, or first probably starting working with us and developing a relationship with us. And we also hope, like, in working with a lot of local game stores, we really want to work with local game stores with this, that we develop partnerships over the time. It's possible that we may merge some of these stores into different operations. We've had those conversations with other local game stores, us not necessarily buying them out, but them kind of merging into us, and them getting
partners
and portion of what
a
greater portion of what we're all building together. So we like working with people. We're always interested in having conversations, but it takes really good people. The thing with running physical stores is the owner operator has to be there.
It's very difficult. Yes.
And so it's not like running an online, store where you can,
right.
So it's there's a lot of challenges in running a local game store.
Yeah,
and doing it well. And
even in doing this right now, I could turn on my cameras at the stores and see that I probably have 40 people in one store and 30 people in the other store right now. So I have 70 people that are just like, I hope everything's good. But like Friday night is a huge night for us, or in game stores in general. So super busy. Here's a good question from Timmy McGee here.
Yeah, Timmy's got a bunch of good questions.
Oh,
here.
Awesome. Good. Oh, look at him. Jeez. Yeah. We could be here for a while, Jake. Let's get moving. What are the biggest limiting factors in scaling? What are you trying to do to overcome those? If we even can do anything about scaling? And we can talk about, I guess, the box products in general.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can certainly go. So, well, when you talk about scaling, you're looking at sort of both sides of the equation. So in this case, it's sourcing and building the boxes. So sourcing takes slabs and building the boxes takes labor and a warehouse and a space to kind of build them. So there will be lots of scaling, depending on how big we get, and how, like right now we have a warehouse now. We are working to hire some people already with our current demand. As we scale it up and we hopefully work with more partners, we'll need more people. We'll have to build a bigger operation. We'll need to source more on that side, right? And then obviously scaling on the other side is part of what we're doing right now, which is having conversations, promoting, trying to work with local game stores, work with streamers, vendors who have their own audiences, to sell more of this product. And the way you sell more of this is by people don't know about it, right? So getting it out there, getting it in front of people. We think that when people, some percentage of Pokemon enthusiasts or Pokemon fans, when they see this, they're going to open one, and then some percentage of those people are going to then occasionally open one because they're fun and they enjoy them. And you do that by getting it out in front of people, and so both sides of that equation we're going to try and scale up together. But there'll be challenges on both sides of that, and obviously you can't just scale it infinitely. If you don't have enough employees and you can't source enough, we could have so much demand quickly that we just can't fulfill the orders. And if that happens, obviously, like, we're very careful on our website. We have disclaimers. If you're buying a whole master case, I forget what Justin has. I think we have like a 1 week waiting period. There's some sort of, it's going to take a week. If you buy one box or a couple boxes, you'll get them very, very fast. But if you're buying a whole master case, and that's because in case we get a bunch of orders and, they're being hand packed right now by human beings that we trust, that are being overseen by a human being that we very, very much trust. So it's hard work. It's a lot of attention to detail goes into all of this, and scaling anything like that will be difficult. Over time, we'll obviously, if we do scale it up, we'll have to have serious conversations about, can we hand pack them? Do we have to have a machine pack them? Do you have to have a machine shrink wrap them? What is that? What does that look like? Does that take away from the quality? I think there's a certain point we probably wouldn't want to get too big, because it might hurt the quality. And then we as a group, I don't think would ever want that. So, these are the types of conversations that, if we're successful on the demand side, we'll probably have on the building side as we go along. But yeah, right now I think we have a pretty good balance, and we're selling quite a bit, and we're able to fulfill quite a bit, but we're trying to increase both quite substantially over the next year, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're February was our first run of these, right, Jake? Or early March? I don't remember when exactly it was, but somewhere in that range. But so these are new, and we've been getting them out here slowly and surely, and more people have been picking them up. I mean, look, in the last 24 hours, we've sold 7 boxes online alone. So, and I sell them in store. I've probably sold over 100 at this point in store, in my 2 stores. So, getting feedback from those guys that are buying them there and that kind of stuff, it all contributes to the growth and how we build this stuff going forward. So it's very, very early days still, but again, doing lives like this and kind of getting everybody involved in it, so you guys know who exactly we are and what we stand for, and get to know us more. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, I mean, and frankly, we've been pretty private about it, because also we didn't initially. We want to make sure the product is decent, so we've done some iterations. Like, we're continuing to improve upon the product, and then second, can we actually source enough and fulfill enough? Because it takes hundreds of thousands of dollars of startup capital and of to have the inventory necessary to build out these things, and keep the machine moving. So it's a tough undertaking, and so that's also part of why we're really just starting to talk more about it now live, and we're going to do a few more of these things. We have some exciting announcements hopefully in the next couple months around this and other things we're working on, and hopefully we'll continue to be able to do this. And I think we're planning on doing one on my channel, and etc.
Yep, getting everybody involved and having just talking with everybody. You want to do this one? I mean, we can talk about this one just real quick. From Timmy here. When did you know you were ready to go full time on cardboard? And Jake, you talked a little bit about leaving your therapy job, but when did you know?
when did I know? How did it go for me? So I was doing like Pokemon part-time, but like pretty seriously, I would say, for a year, like a full year before I went full-time. I was sort of like only working like half-time as a therapist. And then I also took a job for a real estate for one of my cousins runs a hedge fund, and I wanted to learn about, because I thought, well, if I'm going into Pokemon, if I'm going into business, it would be good to take a job at a hedge fund and see how investments are made, and I worked in the real estate analysis. I did real estate analysis for the company, and I was like, wow, I really like analyzing Pokemon cards and thinking about Pokemon cards way more than real estate.
Yeah.
It was using a lot of the same brain power, but I like really enjoy this world a lot more. And frankly, it's just something that, like, I mean, I've had a passion, obviously, in collecting since I was a little kid. So my parents are divorced, and my dad, some of my happiest childhood memories are with my dad, like going around and looking at antique shops and looking for. He used to collect this pottery called Herend, which is from like it's like a handmade porcelain that's from basically the town like where my grandmother's from. So, but we used to like go search for this type of thing, and then I started collecting sports cards and then Pokemon cards, and the collecting sort of gene was always there. And so I don't know. It's funny like that. I like, I like had this whole other completely different career that had nothing to do with business, but it still was like problem solving. It was just like trying to problem solve with human beings around their problems and trying to problem solve around like individual, like who is this human being in front of me, and how do I help them understand themselves better and get what they want out of their own life, these types of things. And now I just kind of use that problem solving brain around, okay, what do our customers want? What do they like? What do they enjoy? How do we build things for them? How do we create, value for people, and then in a way where we can still make a margin and profit. It's fun. It's very fun. It's a little bit crazy, and I feel very fortunate, like very lucky, at least for the time being, that I've found myself in this kind of odd. Well, you don't know what's going to happen in Pokemon, but at least for the time being, that I kind of found myself into this weird situation. I will say though, I know I talk on and on. Apologies to Mason and everyone here, but I will say though that it's very hard to do this, and that particularly if you are trying to work with other people and you're building a larger business with employees, and you're trying to build big things, and you're trying to reinvent things or grow things or try large things. It is hard, and it requires a lot of sacrifice, and it's not like everyone's just printing money with no effort in any of this. It's hard. It's hard to make a living doing this. Obviously you can like buy a bunch of product and it can go to the moon and you can make like 50 grand all of a sudden, or you can buy a collection for 50 grand and sell it for 100 grand and make these large sums of money in short periods of time. But the day in and day out of like really running a business is $1 at a time, one happy customer at a time, one positive interaction at a time, one positive, on the streaming, one positive interaction, one positive review, making sure everyone is taken care of, that the shipping's done correctly, like that any issues are resolved. It's a grind, and BB and Chef who do a lot of our live streaming, and then, Justin on the back end, they work extremely hard to kind of engage with everyone and cater, and it's fun, but it's real work, and I wouldn't, I think Mason's talked a lot about this, and on this channel probably, in owning a shop.
That's the entire channel is me talking about this type of stuff for sure.
And just the difficulty specifically of just like owning a physical retail store, and just how challenging that is. Even during a boom period like this.
Yeah, I mean, I just talked about, and I put on my, as post on YouTube. It is my 6-year anniversary doing content on YouTube, and if you look at what was happening 6 years ago, this hobby was in a very different place. It wasn't until late 2020 that things actually started to get interesting. But when I started my channel, it was not in a great spot, not in a, definitely not a boom period, and right when all the lockdowns and everything were happening. So, very scary time in my business. Very difficult, not knowing what would happen next. Laying off employees, not having walk-in traffic, that type of stuff. Extremely difficult. And they figure. I think the statistic from the Small Business Association ended up being a third of game stores closed in that amount. Shortly after the lockdowns and all that stuff happened, because it is a very in-person, interaction, face-to-face type of model. And very, very thankful that we had a website, and Pokemon ramped up, and it got very popular because we were all trapped at home, right? And that kind of kicked off the initial big boom in 2020. But the first half a year of that, it was very scary, very, very different environment than obviously later on that year, and then even into now, right? It's been I've been on both ends, and obviously I owned my business before 2020 as well. So very, very slow time, and not so slow time with Pokemon Go and all that stuff too. So yeah, lots of ups and downs, and I've seen it on, there's no substitution for the experience. And to answer the question, very, very long route to answer it, but I would say that you don't really know when you're ready, but after you build up enough experience and you kind of understand and you get a feel for things, you will naturally want to keep going and keep growing, and kind of figuring out what's next for you. So you will eventually get to a point where you feel comfortable, and then you're ready to kind of, I would say, baby step it forward. And so long as you just keep making transitions when you feel like now's a good time, I think that's probably the biggest thing and advice I can give somebody is go slow, baby steps. You can grow. You don't have to do everything all at once. So
Yep. Baby steps. Join lives like this, Discords, conversations, be around people doing it full time. That's the way you'll pick up.
Yeah.
Obviously asking us directly is great, but just like hanging out with people, being around it, you'll just pick up, okay, what is it really like? Am I ready to do this? Do I like the life that these guys have? these are do I want to be on the road? Do I want, and then you have to learn all the different ways to do this business. Like there's all different ways to do it. Right. So finding, a mentor of sorts in the space, it's like, well, someone's doing kind of what I could see myself doing. Like I want to do what they're doing specifically. And then, learning and figuring out, okay, what did they do to get to where they're, where they got, I think is great advice in anything. That's certainly what I did in therapy. And, I had a therapist friend of mine, that got me interested in that. And, I think looking to people already doing whatever it is you want to do and asking questions and getting mentoring is super valuable.
Yeah.
They know what it's like because they're doing it.
For sure. Brett, with kind of a more interesting, fun one, but we can run through it real quick. We maybe even talked about this before. I don't know if we talked about it. If we ran GameStop, how would we improve the in-store experience? More TCG, more events, fewer locations. I think GameStop is learning all those things, all those things at the end, little suggestions you did there, Brett. Yeah, obviously, from running brick and mortars for 8 years of the 10 of existing as a business, the getting people to leave their house is now the most difficult challenge to owning this type of business. To actually get people to come into store, you can't have good interactions. It doesn't matter how good employees you have. It doesn't matter how awesome and clean your store is, what kind of products you have on the shelves. It doesn't matter if the people won't come out and interact with them, right? So obviously GameStop has, I would say a pretty killer online experience, probably one of the better ones of definitely any local game store. But yeah, getting more in-store events, getting people to show up in events, trade in, that's a big backbone of kind of like this type of model, incentivizing trade-ins, doing bonuses, that type of stuff. And then, yeah, it's obvious that they are making this route very clear that yes, TCGs are kind of like the solution, maybe just currently, but it is a solution that is doing better than at least video games at the moment. So yeah, doing more with TCGs, obviously partnering with PSA was huge for them. I think that really got a lot of people in the stores that were not going to the stores very frequently. And then yeah, I think they still have way too many locations probably for what they're able to handle. Definitely culling those back and kind of just having one or two good stores in towns across the country, and then cities obviously having better selection of maybe a more larger handful of stores. But yeah, I mean, I remember especially when they bought EB Games, there was GameStops across the street from GameStops, and it's just like that they had that exist for years. I didn't understand, like, how did nobody on paper look at that and be like, wow, this is really dumb for us to be competing against ourselves? Like, that was just a really silly thing. But they're getting there to where they're kind of figuring that out. I don't know. I was in a GameStop recently, and the one single employee that was there to help me, just that's a brutal experience. You can't give good, like, positive in-store experience with one employee. It's just not possible. It's and it's a huge ask for that one employee to do that. And it was like 1 p.m. on a Saturday, and there's one person in that store. And it's just like, how can you have a good experience with that? It's rough. GameStop is rough around in a lot of ways. So they're making overall, I feel like, the right decisions to survive and hopefully at least stay stable. But yeah, the actual physical locations, they're definitely an empty shell of what they used to be, and they are pretty depressing to walk into. Have you been in a GameStop lately, Jake? Have you been in one?
Yeah, well, the conversations. One of the first things I said when we agreed to kind of work together was, I really believe in the idea of trying to create an ideal sort of local game store feel, and having that be a brand that exists in lots of places. And I think GameStop, when I think of GameStop, I think of an 18-year-old who doesn't want to be there in the mall. Now, that may not be fair. There are probably many, many wonderful GameStop employees, but it's the brand that comes to mind. It's been my experience. It's like, and not a lot of people in it, just kind of dead. And when I think of like what I want a local game store to feel like, I want it to feel like what it felt like in my childhood, which was like excitement, lots of different fun games, new packs, people opening stuff in store, people playing at tables, people talking, the owner having a personality, the owner being there. And so I think doing like a franchisee model with an owner operator who's passionate about building community wherever he is and is passionate about local game stores would be the key. So, but that would change their whole fundamental structure. And, but if I were in charge of GameStop, I would take a real good look at what can we do with these physical locations, and how can we create community and engagement. And, of course, it can be an excellent source of sourcing for them, where they can source and then sell through their power packs and their other stuff online. Amazing, great. But they'll do way better. They'll get way more out of those stores if those stores build relationships. That people know who the owner is. They want to hang out with that person. And when you come in, the owner's like, Mason calls some of these people his Pokémon guys. Like, they know him, right? Like, there's a relationship there.
There's people that have been coming to my store since the very first location we've had.
Yeah.
And I'll see them here 8 years later now, and it's been a minute, and I do some more running around than I have probably now in this last year than I have in the entirety of running the business. But that's super cool. It's super cool to see people that have been supporting us for all this time.
Yep.
It's very affirming that, hey, you know what? A lot of game stores have come and gone. In our city, game stores have come and gone. And they're still coming in and hanging out and having a good time at my store. And that means a lot.
Yeah, the outreach, community outreach, the continuity, right? Who are the biggest players in this community? Who are the biggest collectors, and how do we get them into the store? How do we make the experience great for them so that we can get other people, and so as Mason said, how do you get people out of their houses and into this place together, enjoying the same thing that they enjoy? How do you entice them off a Discord, which is hard? It's a real.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because once they're there, they're like, "Oh man, this is great. We should do this more often." They say that all the time. I want to come out more. I want to come out more.
Yeah.
But it's just like we're all so busy, right? It takes genuine effort. Let's keep moving here. Timmy just crushing it with the question. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Just how we came to be and how to meet. Timmy, if you want to hear the whole backlog of all that, but yeah, me and Jake have known each other for years and years. When was the first time I actually met you in person? Was it in Denver?
Oh,
it must have been. Probably right.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, Denver Collecticon, whatever year that was now. I don't remember what year it was. 2023.
I'd say we've probably known each other for 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah, but we've known and been talking to each other for long before that, for sure.
And then probably Collecticon was maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
I have no idea. I have no idea at this point. But like Jake says, he has a Patreon, and I've done a couple of presentations with Patreon, just being a game store owner before we had partnered together and just to talk about different stuff. So we have had lots and lots of interactions and discussions together.
And I have a YouTube channel that I used to be active on years ago. I'm coming back now and starting to make some videos again. But we were both, Mason and I were both YouTubers. I mean, that's how we really met, is because we were like, hey, I watch your videos, you watch my videos, let's have conversations.
Yep. But yeah, if you want to see a little bit more, Timmy, it was the very first probably 10 minutes we talked about that. This is probably, we'll see what happens here. What is something you both feel strongly about but disagree on in the Pokemon sphere?
Is there something that comes to mind for you?
I mean, I don't know if it's not like a disagreement, but we've definitely come from two different schools of you are very much collector, very much high-end collector, very much, you have interests and like things that I don't like, and you have a fondness of certain things that I don't necessarily have a fondness for. And I'm from the player side of thing. Obviously, what got me into the business in general is just, my kids growing up and getting them playing and playing the game when they were younger, and then wanting to do that actually kind of propelled the business into doing as a side gig, and then, opening up the store myself. But so yeah, I'm very, very player focused, player oriented. I run, a lot of the events myself. I run the pre-releases. I have League Cups. League Cups are quarterly events that are kind of a bigger deal for game stores. I'm doing those tomorrow and on Sunday for both the stores. So I'm still super, super active in running the actual event side of things. But doesn't really agree, but it's just two different things that we kind of focus on.
That's the only thing that came to my mind. It's just collecting in general. That was the word that came to my mind. It's just
Jake is a collector. Is genuinely a collector in heart. I definitely have, and again with my kids and stuff, I had collections of things, but I am, as a person of my own, I don't seek out completing a set of things or collecting certain things. I do not.
In all seriousness, if we become very wealthy from our Pokemon business, I will give more to charity and collect more Pokemon cards with any additional money that goes outside of taking care of my family. Yeah. Those are my two, right. And Mason said to me, I don't even know what I do with the money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Again,
he's not a collector.
I live pretty modestly. I don't have a lot of things. I don't have collections or stuff that, I mean, there's probably some stuff that I would like to have a good time, just to have around. But yeah, I don't have like sets of cards or anything for sure. All right, Timmy, let's see this one from you. What are your hypotheses around this boom staying so long without a pandemic? I would say just like a very, very strong IP that is multi-generational at this point, where people can do things together. It's wholesome. It's not, the IP is wholesome. Say what you want about the TCG side of things, but the IP itself is very positive and, morally good, I would say. Teaches good life lessons and things like that. So just generally a good, positive IP. Yeah, I mean, it's just the amount of people that have appeal to it. I think the international appeal to it is awesome too. Japanese cultures and just that type of like entertainment is super, super popular and big right now. So that definitely probably adds to it as well. Yeah, all those things. Nintendo being a part of it, Nintendo doing as well, and the Switch doing as well as it is, and everybody having a Switch and playing the Pokemon games and stuff definitely adds to it. Pokemon Go was huge, of course. And then Pocket was big for the TCG as well. We saw a huge kind of resurgence of people being interested in the TCG with Pocket as the phone app. All those things, just a lot of things, and Pokemon doing things and innovating and doing things that is just interesting to modern society, I think is really just a big part of it.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a culmination of 25 to 30 years of effort on the Pokemon side of things, just building this incredible, world and characters, and that the amount of of people on this earth, the percentage of people on this earth who know who Pikachu is, and and then social media.
Sure.
I think
Absolutely.
just social media and business, the combination of social media and business, and I think just so much momentum there. But yes, we could definitely list a bunch of things, and Mason listed a bunch of good ones, and I could probably list a few more, but those are the big topics. There's lots of, we could point to this person or this business. There are definitely specific influencers and specific businesses in the space that I think have done a lot of heavy lifting. Some of the biggest people and biggest businesses, but yeah, it's been a fun ride. We're all riding it together, I suppose.
Which is part of the fun as well, is that we're all here together. Another one from Dangle talking about the boxes specifically. Talking about the master cases again, because I guess we were talking about maybe the wholesale side of it. The EV and the standard deviation of the master cases. Dangles, if you look on the back of the boxes of all those cases, it'll say what the breakdown is, and obviously because we make those small batches, those numbers are true to what a master case is. So if you're interested in like seeing exactly what those break down as, that is what the actual deviations are.
Yeah, so the deviation, so it's we try to make it about 100% expected value, but on average across a case, but it's about it's definitely over 90%. So to be safe, and I explained why there's variation, because again, these items don't just sell for one price; they sell for a variable price. But as far as like the deviation, there shouldn't be boxes that are below like 150. And there might be a few in many boxes that get down to the 140, but that's sort of your kind of lowest, and then the highest is 4,000, or and this for the $200 product. For the $500 product, it would be the same percentages. It's something like 350 to 400, somewhere in there would be the lowest, and then the highest. I think they're, again, one box out of 1,000 or so, 5,000.
Yeah.
Of course, those big boxes are extremely rare, and they're offset by many boxes that are going to be more between 150 and 250 for the $200 product. So I would not expect to get one of those, but again, one person has already gotten one.
Yep.
On Sagar's channel, and they are out there, and people will pull them. they will be opened by somebody. But,
yeah, I think the
it's like the odds of pulling a Moonbryon. It's like I wouldn't expect to if you open an Evolving Skies pack to pull a Moonbryon.
Yeah, I think the master case of my standard ones that I got from the store, somebody pulled the Japanese, prismatic Umbreon in that one, and that was the kind of the big hit for that one. So they're out there. We're sure they're out there because we made them. So we would know. Let's do this one here, Jake. We're at 2 hours. How are you feeling?
I'm having a good time.
Do a couple more.
We can end whenever you're ready. We could go. You want to go 24 more minutes and then call it, something like that?
Sure, we can do that. Sure. Okay. Another one from Dangles here is a wholesale play, essentially, so you can serve breaker communities. Do you have breakers lined up already or plan to run your own breaks? Yeah. So we already talked about, we do on eBay Live, all of our streamers, which are live 7 days a week over there. We have a card and all channel over there that we do these boxes on. Anybody can buy a box and do that. Sometimes they do open them up and do the individual, slab bags, I guess you'd call them, or the inserts, whatever they are, individually, and do them that way. But yeah, and we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. But yeah, the wholesale thing is we want to work with game stores and have breakers and other people, be a part of this and kind of get our product out there in front of more people. And a way of doing that is getting other people involved and be able to wholesale it out to people that we know and trust and are going to be doing stuff ethically with products. And so if you see these in an LGS, hopefully that will be a good experience for you and good for that store, and give you confidence that stores are carrying the product, so that obviously they must be having a good experience, and we're not some like fly by night company that's just like, yeah, we spit out 1,000 of these boxes and then we made our money and we ran off, right? So definitely here for the long term and trying to build relationships with other companies, and not just do these products but other types of products down the road that we want to do.
Yeah, I think the local game store, the relationship with local game stores is something we really hope we can develop. I think the challenge is the price points. So part of what we're doing is we're working on building a $60 product to a little bit of a cheaper price point. We are in multiple game stores already, and we've sold 500 to 1,000 boxes already, and have gotten genuinely all good feedback except for one box where it was all trainers. And because the boxes are themed, and the person actually reached out to us, and we actually made it right. We bought back the product, and they just didn't like trainers, and we're upset that their box just had all trainers, and that was like a one-off experience.
Right. Or we're like, oh, this will be fun, or the cool idea to have them all together. Yeah, I can see where that would be.
And I'm sure there's a number of people who have opened boxes who weren't happy with them, and they didn't say anything, of course. But fortunately, no one's been unhappy enough that they've reached out, and all the actual feedback we've gotten has been positive. Like, hey, these products are really fun. They're really great to open. Or normally I'm not that into mystery boxes, or slab boxes, but I really like yours. They're fun. They're fun to open once in a while. You guys seem great. So. Yeah, so we're working hard to keep that going, and as far as we've been selling these. You can look on eBay Live, you can look on our website, you can look on YouTube, you can look on Sagar's Royalty Gaming's channel, but there's lots of videos of these being opened up if you want to there's lots of evidence already of people enjoying them, and big Van Gogh PSA 10s and other exciting cards being hit, and so it's that's part of the social media world. Things get documented, people experience them, and the views.
And that's and working with other people as well plays into that. That obviously, if somebody gets a big pull or something at an LGS or something like that, the idea is that they can then post that to their socials, obviously, and that's a good use of engagement. And then obviously that gets the word out about our product as well. So it's kind of a does great things for both parties when the big awesome hit gets found. So that's the whole idea.
Yeah, and hopefully one day we can be a big enough brand that we provide credibility and help. I think we already have decent brands in the hobby and decently sized, but we want to continue to grow that so that our brand carries more trust and weight. And then we're excited to work with other people who have developed their brands in their communities, right? Local game stores have developed great relationships with customers in their areas, and we can benefit from their the trust they built up. They trust us, their audience trusts them, their buyers trust them, and so now they would buy this product, whereas they would never buy it directly from us, right? And so that's how business to business can be a win-win, and the local game stores could never build these products themselves because they can only be built with a massive team. Sourcing, grading, scaling,
with the work, all the work involved.
It's a massive undertaking, so that 99% of local game stores have no, are already stretched too thin and have no time, owner operators.
Yeah,
so this is a way for them to make offer these products to their customers, make some profit, off of it in the meantime, and create a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, we have had slabs in my stores before, but I've sold more slabs through these products than I have ever had, individual slabs in the stores. Like, and that's a good thing as well, because, I don't have to worry about catering the case to have certain price ranges or anything like that. It's, this is a product that has tiers and different price ranges, and if somebody's comfortable doing that, just like as people go up and they'll buy a booster pack or whatever, they can kind of pick their, do you want a Hidden Fates like pack, or do you want Perfect Order prize pack? The same kind of thing. You can have those with these types of products as well for people that want the slabs, which is fun. How about this one from Joey here? Talking about card shows, what are your opinions on the current state of card shows? Do you vend? And how do you think they'll evolve over time? Will Collectron under new management drive ticket prices higher? Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of card shows. I would love to do more card shows if we could actually find tables when they go live, but that's a current situation where there's just not enough tables to go around. But we are at all the card parties. We like doing the card parties. They're fun events that Deep Pocket Monster Pat Flynn puts on. So we like doing those shows. We'll be at I'll be there next weekend. Jeez, that's hard to believe that it's already here, but I will be doing that one, and then other card parties as well this year. So we do card shows. Current state of them, it's very interesting. Just the amount of, as prices have all gone up, just the amount of money and the type of products that are there, to see ponchos. That first one we went to in Denver was, there may have been a handful of ponchos in the room, right? But now there's ponchos everywhere. There's tons of ponchos everywhere, which is crazy. So hard to believe and crazy to look about what's happening now, but there's just as more money has come into the hobby, these bigger shows just get bigger and bigger cards. Me and Jake were with these products. We were going around trying to source some of the bigger hits and things at Chicago when we were there both together, and and cheaper stuff too. And people don't even bring the cheap stuff anymore. That all stays home. They can't. Why take up this case space when you can have more expensive cards in there? So definitely, as card shows have grown in popularity, the caliber of cards have definitely increased. at most shows for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything to add. I think Collecticon being under new management, I don't really have any predictions or anything, but we're going to be watching and paying attention because we would like to go to Collecticons and I think part of it is we don't really have the manpower, honestly, to go to them. It's a bit of a stretch for our team and kind of exhausts our team. So it's we're in an interesting spot where we'd like to go to more, but we're, as Mason said, it's first of all, it's very hard to get tickets. It's very hard to get tables. And second, it is a stressful stretch on our team. So
yep.
We shall see kind of how that goes. But how will they evolve over time? Yeah, I don't know. I hope. I think. I mean, there's so many. The amount of them, the amount of vendors, selling to vendors. There's a lot of that. There's a lot more of that than there was 4 years ago. But you would expect that, given the state of the hobby and the value of the cards and the amount of vendors there are and the amount of there's so many people now who just vend in Pokemon and maybe run a small eBay store but don't have a local game store. I mean, most of the vendors there don't have physical locations. So I think too, it's a lot of, it's a whole scene. The vendor scene, particularly the national vendor scene, is a whole scene. And I recognize a lot of the same faces from the year that I sort of did the circuit and did that scene. So, some people like it, some people don't. I feel both ways about it. There are elements I really enjoy, like more kids and families. Also, I think having that also is fun. I don't not enjoy the vendor to vendor or the more adults and high end cards, but I also enjoy the kids and the families. So I think card parties generally a better balance of a little bit more of everything. But
or even just local shows. Local shows are great too. I really like what local shows have become, and especially with shows that are local to me. People seeing me at a local show, they're like, Mason, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, I'm just trying to get out to meet people that I don't normally see, or see what else people are buying and selling and type of stuff that's moving around locally. That's super important for me to know. I mean, that's great knowledge, and I get to interact with the people that if they vend or do that stuff, maybe they don't come into my store, but I talk to them and get to know them a little bit, and then they may not bring me their slabs, but hey, I'll take the bulk that they have, or maybe if they have some sealed that they have that maybe won't move at shows, I can help them out with that. So it's a great networking opportunity, not just for somebody in my position, but for you as well. Anybody else that's out there that wants to go to shows, it's always a fun time to go see who else is out there locally, just interacting and having fun with collecting and ripping and all that kind of stuff at local shows.
And we can, I mean, we are looking into having our own shows and starting our own shows and
shoot, yeah, shows, I mean, that's worth mentioning, yeah,
in Louisville and Charlotte and some places where our team is located. So I don't think we have too many details yet, but that'll be stuff that Mason will definitely share with you guys. And if you're anywhere around the Louisville area, or the Charlotte, North Carolina area, we'd love for you guys to come and meet us in person, or meet some of the team in person. And I think it's we really like those meeting people, opportunities where a bunch of people from an area who are really passionate about cards. Any sort of event that can bring those people out and bring those people together is like one of the most fun ways, I think, of engaging in the hobby. Obviously, when the national stuff, you have to book a hotel and you have to travel, and it's very expensive. Just why it's so nice when there's the local scene, because you can leave your house and go for a few hours and see people and grab lunch, and it's a good time.
Sleep in your own bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's do we're kind of come down to it there, Jake. We're about done here. We gotta get just a couple more. Would you not be able to scale a business primarily from grading if you didn't have overhead from a storefront and tons of employees? Let me tell you right now, yeah, you probably definitely would be able to. But yeah, so, and that's like the strength again of us working together and with different people, right? Is that we all have different skill sets. I'm pretty good at running a store. I think I'm doing okay. I think so. But yeah, as far as like grading and doing a product like this, I could not do on my own. I do not have the skill set and the knowledge. I do have an idea now, but at the time, especially before now, I did not. So yeah, but yes, you definitely can. There's tons of people already doing that as business, just grading cards and selling them online. And yeah, you can do all that without having a physical location or employees or anything like that. Absolutely, you can.
Yeah, it depends what you mean by scale, I think one person, Rusty TCG Gaming has shown what one person, with enough capital and knowledge can do.
Yes.
His kids help a little, but
Sure.
but so I think that you can grade, and he does a lot of things, but even if you just look at what he grades, what he has graded, like you can make a lot of money, and as long as the hobby stays hot and you have the experience and ability by yourself doing this, absolutely. And in fact, selling to companies like ours, or other companies, is something that people are doing, right? They're grading cards, and then instead of having to sell them individually, they're wholesaling them to vendors, or stores, or for repack products. So that's a big business.
Yeah, some people, again, some of that is just that's all they do, is just kind of do a wholesaling thing where they either buy locally or source it locally or grade and then sell the non-gradables to other people. That works out a lot. This is the last question here, Jake. I don't have any other ones other than this one that I think
perfect timing.
Yeah. Again, Timmy coming through. If grading was your primary source of income, what parameters would you track and care most about? Cards graded per month, profit per card. Jake, you did this for, again, kind of on your own for a year. What was your kind of like mindset when you went out and did that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so grading was probably only 5-10% of my business. I mostly kept things raw, but there is no it's all math, right? At the end of the day. And so it's all a combination of the two things you're talking about, right? Liquidity and margin. So the bigger your margin, you want as much margin and as much liquidity, move it, selling it as many times as you can, you want both of those things, right? One is not better than the other. The math will tell you which one's better, right? So if I sell 100, if I buy if I buy 50 cards for $50 and I grade them and they're now worth $100 each, and I sell them for, let's just say 120, then after fees and everything, I'm getting $100 just for simplicity's sake, right? I'm making $50 a card, so my margin's $50, and then the liquidity is how long does it take me to source, grade, and then sell that item, right? So if it takes me a month and I sell 100 of them, right, and I'm making $50 a card, 5,000 bucks, right? So now that same $5,000 I could make by literally grading one card. I could take $15,000 and put it into a card, and then sell that card for 20 grand, and I'm still making the same 5,000, but now my margin on a percentage basis, I'm putting in 15,000 to make 5,000 instead of putting in 2,500, excuse me, 50 times, oh God, instead of putting in 5,000 sorry, 10,000 no, 5,000 to make 5,000. Yes, it's 5,000 to make 5,000. So obviously, if you can only put in 5,000 to make 5,000, and then you can do that a bunch of times, that's better. But how long is it going to take you to sell those 50 cards versus selling that one card? How many times can you sell that one card over? These are all things that you gain experience doing by engaging in it. And to me, the sweet spot is it depends where you're selling it. If you're selling it on eBay, you want to be above $50 so that the shipping and things like that don't eat too much into your percentage profits. And you want to be buying, 20, 30, 40, 50 to $200 cards, ultra modern cards, Japanese mostly, but also some English, and trying to get as many 10s as you possibly can. And then, with PSA, or if you want to go the CGC route, pristines, and then, list them on eBay. They'll sort of slowly sell over time. If you want to sell to you can pick certain cards that have the highest grade rate, that have the highest, odds of grading a 10, and have high liquidity rates. So if you look at like the ultra modern sets, the biggest Charizard hit, the biggest Gengar hit, whatever's really hot, when you go on eBay, look to see what's sold in Pokemon. And if the card is being sold all day, if the card's being sold over and over and over again, probably liquidity will be pretty good on that card. So if that card also grades really well, and then you can source a bunch of it. And when it gets a 10, there's enough margin there that it makes sense for you to grade a bunch of it. That's a good card, right? So you have a number of cards like that. So when you build up your knowledge base, once you have a big knowledge base, you can walk around a show and you can pick out, okay, I'm looking for every one of these cards, every one of those cards. And I'm walking around and I'm picking out gradables, and I'm, walking around, I'm looking at them. Or you can go on TCGPlayer, or you can go on eBay and chance that as well. It's a grind. It's a grind, but like the big hits, you will lose, on some amount. But if you're really methodical and you stay really focused and you have decent capital and patience, you can make good money. Of course, a lot of people have gotten lucky that the market has just continued to go up. So while they're doing this, the cards themselves have gone up, which so they wait 4 months for the cards to come back from PSA. There's risk in it, right? If you do it now, 4 months later, the card could be quite a bit less. So there's some risk, there's some speculation on it, but there's lots of variables in this stuff, guys. And it's about, at the end of the day, math is your friend. Just do the math. How many do I think I can sell? And then what margin do I think on average I will make? And that will tell you if it's a good decision or not a good decision. Okay.
That was like a regular live that you normally do, Jake. That was pretty normal. That's all the questions I see here, guys. And again, we're right at almost 2.5 hours here. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Kind of a short notice, but not really too crazy, I don't think, for a Friday. Jake, anything else you want to touch on, or before we skedaddle?
No, yeah, I really appreciate everyone hanging out. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting Mason, all these years and on YouTube. And if you have any questions about these products, if you want to work with us, please don't hesitate, to reach out. We want to meet people. We want to have conversations. Yeah. And we'll see what types of comments, maybe we'll do a follow-up at some point with some comments that most people will probably watch this video later. A lot of people watch this later. And if you have comments and things you want us to respond to, perhaps, leave them in the comment section, and then we can respond to them later, maybe on another video.
Yep. Well, awesome. Thank you, Jake. Thanks for your time. Thanks everybody for the awesome questions and for hanging out. We're going to leave it here. Thanks y'all for watching. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.